Welcome, friends, to this has been an episode that I've been very excited to get on the books. We had like a test run a couple weeks ago where it was on me. I torpedoed the whole thing, so shame on me. But very excited that Yael decided to grace us with a presence, give us some more time, and so I just want to get into it. I'm Omar Sangurima. This is the Cyber Mettle Podcast, joined as always by Alyson Laderman.
And we'll give our usual disclaimer that even though now we have an author and a cybersecurity expert and a lawyer, we are not your experts for the purpose of this podcast, but we're here to share our well-worn wisdom and experiences with you so that you can maybe use that knowledge and information to make decisions that will help you move forward in your life and in your business. So with that, Yael, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to join us today?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I've been a big Omar fan for God knows how long. And I love what you're doing with Cyber Mettle. But yeah, I'm Yael. I'm a tech journalist and what else? Security educator. And then I run a data broker opt-out list to help people remove their info from people search sites.
I like that was put in there as a throwaway. Oh, by the way, and like a major like thing that's needed. Good grief. But yeah, you
way to bury the lead, they say.
Honestly, and just wearing many hats and rocking the heck out of all of them. I've been a fan of yours for quite a long time. We were speaking it right in the green room about different jobs and whatnot that you had back in the day, as we all do, and it's just funny like what had you on my radar as journalist wise, not cyber. It was just but it's just like excellent voice and just really presented things really, really well. But today, I think we were trying to maybe get into bridging a couple of those communities together, and I think, Yael, you're uniquely suited. Do you want to kind of
So
break
I wonder
us in?
if we should let the audience in. I used to be an MMA writer. I started writing about MMA because I wanted to know what self-defense skills actually worked against resistance. So I was like, I'm going to be an MMA writer so I can get front row seats to like these local shows, and it just kind of went from there. So that was kind of a project I did for a while.
And not only that, but I do know you've hit the mat yourself as well. I remember. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a blue belt. I've been a blue belt for I kind of train on and off. It's been a long time off, but yeah, I enjoy it. Aren't you a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu?
No, actually, I am a forever blue belt as well. Like I've grappled. I started grappling in 99, like 2000, but just like same kind of thing. I think now I'm on probably like one of my longest hiatuses.
Yeah.
I just enjoy not being banged up.
It's really I was wild. Like moving a lot. I feel like there was a lot of like kind of gym drama and politics that I didn't like. So like, and then I also moved a lot, and it was just, then I quit during grad school. Then like COVID happened, and I found that a bunch of people I was training with were like anti-vaxxers. So I got really paranoid. I'm like, what are you going to do if you get staph? Like, are you going to put essential oils on it and then go train? So I got really paranoid.
I saw gyms like turn into speakeasies essentially, and like board up the windows because they were getting reported by the local health authorities. And I won't name names, but I'd just be like, hey, so-and-so, maybe the answer is not boarding up the windows. Maybe the answer is maybe to stop training for like just a minute. Like just maybe like oh no, but we're doing the pod system. Cool. That's like slightly better, right? It's almost like, second or third hand smoke. I get like, that's not the answer. Like essential oils was a big one. I know, wacky as it sounds, it really was. Right, I remember right up there with.
I mean, I don't have a problem with essential oils. Just I have a problem with them as a staph treatment.
No, for sure. Like that's exactly like that's a nice disclaimer. Like I'm not trying to get the big essential oil after us, right? Have them start writing in and hate mail, but not as a cure for like your leg's gonna fall off, bro. Like that's that like this is yeah, no, it's I remember, that, and like the politics is a big one, and the moving was a big one. And again, though, like for now, it's just I wake up and it's not. I don't feel like a rolled up, bag of crap.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had so many injuries. But I did enjoy, like, I think it's really good for me to do things I'm not good at. Like, I feel like it's very healthy. And also it got me out of my head. Like,
Mhm,
if you're staring at a screen all day for 12 hours, it's
mhm.
like, okay, I'm just trying to, get in guard. Like, it's just easier.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the thing I have to focus on in the moment. And then for me, it was also a lot easier. I don't like doing cardio, and it was easier to do cardio when I felt like
Yeah.
I had a reason
Cardio
to, like,
sucks.
I needed to
You
go
almost
to
you
the
almost forget that you are doing cardio, like, when you're rolling, and it's like, "Oh, cool, I got some rounds in," but absolutely, like, that yeah, I'm in the same boat. Cardio always sucked. I'd rather actually grapple, right?
Right.
But, yeah, it was just yeah. No, you're getting into my head because I think you're maybe, like, the 4th or 5th person that I've come across in the last month that's like, "Hey, when you're getting back out there," just randomly, just, like, from different pieces of life, so maybe the universe is trying to tell me, but again, I don't I
Get in
just
the
I
gym.
yeah, but I like not being injured.
I know,
It's
it's so
it's
nice.
really it's so nice. Like,
Yeah.
I'm now used to not being in as much pain every day, like, it's just,
You just
I've
wake up and your neck feels normal.
right? Your hands open and close normally, right?
I
Like,
don't know, I
that's
think mine are permanently jacked, and it's kind of
yeah.
embarrassing as a blue belt that my fingers are this messed up because I feel like I should have done more in the sport to get this injury.
Listen, it just so happens,
But
I
at
got the
least
one that
my ears
doesn't
are still nice, so
yeah, that is the one thing I was yeah, I mean, I lost a little bit
I was
of
one
the
of
right
those
one.
weirdos. I would wear headgear sometimes just because I don't
But I love it how you're saying weirdos, but yet no, that's the healthy thing to do. It's like it's just, you have the 2-week white belts that just like, "Look," and like, "That's a medical thing. Like, get it trained.
yeah.
Don't let it harden." Like, "No, it's working." "No. What are you doing?" Like, you'll never wear headphones again, bro. Like, please do
I'm
yourself
laughing that we're talking about this so much because I think it was Nicole Proroth's book. There was a book I read that said, like, if you're ever around hackers and you don't know what to talk about, just talk about jujitsu.
That's the move. That's truly another great author in the space, right? Like, This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends was, eye-opening, I remember for, like, that gray market. But yeah, it was one of those that I said, "Hey, guys, we all have to read this," right? Like, at work, right? I was like, "Okay, Omar." Like, "Yeah, okay, Omar's keen on a book, cool." Like, yeah, but that's accurate. However, that's a nice segue. I see what you're doing there, Yael, right? In terms of, like, hacker and journalist communities. I feel like there's a lot of corollaries in terms of, getting after puzzles and digging through things and getting to the truth. What's been your experience? Like, can there be more unity? Right? I don't want to say that there's not, but like, kind of what's been your lived experience in those two
I
spheres?
wish. Yeah, I mean, I love the hacker I just love hackers. We just vibe really well, I think. But I can understand there's, like, a lot of trepidation around journalists because people have written it's like you have a bully pulpit almost, like, you can write an article that can ruin someone's life if they
Mm,
misspeak or you misrepresent them in some way. So I think it makes people nervous. I don't know, it's also, like, weird for me too because, like, I was just texting somebody who was a source for a story, and I'm like, "Are we friends now?" Like, "Can I text you non-story things?" Because you don't wanna, like, I don't wanna assume that somebody who wants to talk for me for a story would wanna talk to me as, like, a random person because there is, like, a power differential. Like, I could investigate. But I don't know, I think sometimes I've been a little confused because I feel like hackers are so nervous about journalists when I'm like, you are typing something in a Slack with 100,000 people or something, and I'm like, "Why are you worried about the journalist? The person who's gonna screenshot your thing that you shouldn't have shared publicly is gonna be somebody else probably." Because there's like, anybody can throw stuff on a blog, anybody can throw stuff on social media, and I feel like there's more of a rigorous I guess depending on the outlet you're writing for, there's more of a process, like a fact-checking process.
fancy that.
It has to, like, meet a certain bar to be considered newsworthy, that kind of thing, and so I've always been a little perplexed. Or, like, one time, I got uninvited from a dinner once at DEF CON because they were like, "We don't want journalists there." And I'm like, "You're in a public restaurant, bro. Like, what are you gonna talk about that I can't hear, but ev like, you can share public." Like, I feel like sometimes people just don't like journalists, and they should just say that instead of, like, we have a very unique, specific threat model that involves not sharing things with journalists, but we can share it very publicly."
but like over
And then you get
drinks,
the
they can
table
just
next to them.
yeah,
Yeah,
or like be
exactly.
loud at the bar, right? Because
Right.
that never happens, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. But I mean, I can understand. I get nervous around journalists myself because the details. I mean, anybody who's ever signed an NDA or a non-compete, anybody who has any information that, like, you could get in trouble at work, you could lose your job. Like, so then you have to be very scripted about what you say, and that's not where the good conversations happen. So I think it's like building a certain level of trust and rapport. Like, I'm not out here to like screw you over or publicize secret information, but I don't know. I think it's invaluable because I have a lot of hacker friends, most of whom don't want to talk to the media, but they will explain things to me that I'm stuck on, and I'm like, and then I get all the credit for people are like, oh yeah, I don't really understand the nuance of this specific. I'm like, actually, I don't, but somebody was really nice and explained it to me. But it's because they want the truth out there. So like,
mm.
and I'll explain to them, like if they have an interview, I'll be like, I can do the same for them. I can be like, here's who this person writes for and what that is going to look like and what they're probably going to ask you, and what to do if there's something you're not comfortable answering, like that kind of thing. So I think it's kind of a two-way street.
Is the penchant for being, I think, that sort of guide when needed? Because it seems like you're very. You mentioned the power differential, right? And you mentioned you're very cognizant of how that other person is going to feel in the conversation. And I wonder if, I would imagine, makes you a really good interviewer, right? Makes it, makes it in terms of at least just being conscious, be conscious of that, because then it's not, you're not waiting, to answer, right? You're listening to listen. And I think that probably, but then again, like you said, the hacker community is oddly paranoid, inconsistently paranoid. It's not, kind of like being
I was
obtuse.
gonna say, I don't know that oddly paranoid is the way, because when you think about what they do for a living
Sure,
and,
but like
you
inconsistently
know,
paranoid, right? Like as
Yeah,
Yael said, folks
there
will be
can
looking
be.
at stuff on
Yeah,
their phones at a bar without a privacy screen. Yet, if Yael were to walk by, oh no, she's a journalist. Wait a second.
yeah. I think it also depends. Like, there's been some places that are very, like, I love the LabsCon community. Like, they're very journalist friendly. Like, there's different. It really depends on who you're talking to and what you're doing. But I do know someone who would like kind of was asking too many questions once at a meeting, and this guy just got up and walked away. And I don't know who it was, but a friend of ours is like, every time he sees you, he like walks in the other direction. And like one time somebody told me I was in their threat model, which was hilarious. I think it like hurt my feelings at the time, but now I think it's very funny. I think he was working at like a big tech company, which like, if I was gonna investigate them, though, it would not be on like an offhand comment somebody made at a meetup. It would be like there's an official way to go about doing that. Like, I'm not gonna get you fired, I promise. Probably not
Or
anyway.
like you're not sitting there going, gotcha, right? Or waiting for some, yeah,
Right.
that's the assumption, I would imagine. Okay.
But I think it's also like sometimes people think journalists are their friends, and it's like they're writing a story. If you tell them something dumb, they're gonna print it. Like if you tell them something interesting, and then you're like, oh wait, never mind, psych. Like depending on the person, they're probably gonna run with it. You know what I mean? So it's not complete paranoia. I just think sometimes the way people think through it doesn't make sense to me, though it could just be that they just don't like journalists and are lying.
They're trying to justify just a natural disdain for the
Yeah. They're like, we just don't want you to have dinner with us, but I can't tell you that directly. So I'll just be like, well,
so we're gonna
we're
say you're a
planning on
journalist.
discussing our top secret brief at a restaurant in Vegas.
well, did you notice, was there ever a shift in time where it wasn't that, or has it always been
Yeah.
that experience for you?
It is easier for me to get people to talk to me now because I know people who know that. I feel like I have more rapport in the community. When I was first starting, it was really, really hard to get anybody other than like spokespeople for tech
Mm.
companies or people who would send me press releases. And then it's also gotten easier for people to believe me when I'm like, this is like not for an article. I'm just trying to better understand this like tiny nuance. Yeah, it has gotten easier, which is good. But I don't know, I think I'm also like, I get really worried. Every time I write an article, I'm like, everybody's going to hate this. Like, and I get really paranoid about it. And I don't know if that's what makes them better, that I'm so paranoid about getting a detail wrong or the framing
Mm.
wrong. I like really obsess over it. But it's funny. It's gone to the point where I told someone, like, I think everybody's going to hate this article. And he's like, you say that every time.
I think one of the biggest compliments I know of that you can pay, and I'll bring it back to us in a second. I might be going for a walk here, but one of the biggest compliments is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. And some people, bust that line out themselves to try to, get that acclaim. Other people will say that about folks that they admire, but in this sense, I think there's something that's got to be working in the process, Yael, because in my opinion, there's a lot of journalists I admire, especially in the space, and a lot of them, I would say 99.9% of them, hold you in high regard. So I think it's so it's your favorite journalist, kind of favorite journalist, that sort of thing. See, I brought it back. I got there. Got it. So there has to be something, right, to the process. As you said, if that sort of paranoia probably makes you much more detail oriented, right? Go back at it, make sure everything's tip top, and I think the results speak for themselves. So
thank you so much.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting how, because I have had to correct articles I've written. I've had to update them and have correction notices on the bottom, which I think is better than leaving it wrong, which a lot of people do. But like, I think it's kind of interesting how when you do that in journalism, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're bad at your job. You had to have a correction." But if you put out code that's just full of bugs, and then you close all the bugs, people are like, "High five, congratulations!" Like, so I think it's like, I wish it was a little more iterative, and it didn't feel like, oh, you just put an article out and it's out there and now it's done. And like, I wish there was a way to kind of improve our understanding and build on that, but I don't really know exactly what that would look like.
That's wild to me, considering the velocity of the news cycle now. I would almost think that that's understood, and hey, we're just getting this. We're getting this out to you. This is the best of what we know at the time. But and to your point, if I saw journalists I follow consistently do that, right? Like, get my Times newsletter in the morning. If they print a correction, I'm like, cool. They're doing their due diligence. They're being transparent. I'd rather, sometimes it's like off of silly stuff, right? I said they like blue, but they like yellow, but I want to, but sometimes it's material things, but it's just even handed in the way that they're being forthright. So
yeah, I like that. I like that approach.
I didn't want to, again, we're just starting, but I didn't want to get too far without, the results speaking for themselves. Like, award-winning, journalist here. Walk us through. Like, I've always been interested, like, of how the award process goes in your field. Like, do you get like a hint that it might be on the docket, and then like, do you gotta, like, is there anything to do to like improve your chances, or is it like, do you hear that it's, hey, you got it? Like, what, I've always wanted to ask a journalist, I never had the opportunity.
That's interesting. I guess, like, going back, so the story that, like, when Pulitzer first shared, it was a whole package. That the main story was based on data that I brought to AP because it fell off the back of a truck, and I had this data set, and I'm like, I need a lot of help reporting this out. But before that happened, I had done a similar story for The Intercept, which was the same situation where I had a bunch of data. I needed help reporting it out. I took it to The Intercept, and I was the lead writer on that. And then we had a researcher named Mike Mon, like a really good editor, and a lot of other people working on it. And when I got the second data set, I was like, that was really time. Like, it's hard for an organization like The Intercept to be able to work with us. Like, it took a really long time because they didn't really have an internet. There weren't things in place that I thought would have helped it go more smoothly. And so when I got the second data set, I was actually looking at award winners. I was like, who's written about China? And the first thing I did was I pitched it to a site that they were like very excited at first, and then they were like, we're all going to report on it together, and then they just sat on it for months and months and months, and then they killed the story. And then I took it to AP, but when I took it to AP, it was specifically to work with Dake Kang, and I know that he had won awards before. I think he was a Pulitzer finalist for similar work, and just a phenomenal writer. So I wasn't doing it to win a prize, but it was more like a proxy for who has written about this in a way that's really high profile. And then we worked on it I think it was like 3 years. And I knew they were entering it in contests, and then we won an Overseas Press Club award, which was really exciting. It was actually really funny because I just gotten laid off, and then I got to go to New York for this black tie gala to like
I think I saw it on your LinkedIn. I think I saw like the chain of events, and you made, I think, a comment about that, like, "Wow, this is trippy" or something.
Yeah, it was with flashy. It was, it was just surreal. But I'm like, I wonder if we're gonna win anything else, because if you win an overseas, sometimes people win multiple awards for either the same package or similar packages. And like, but I'm like, and I had the date that they announced it on my calendar, but I deleted it. I was like, if we win something, like somebody will tell me. And then they called me I got an email that morning being like, I have some good news to share. And so I think I found out about it in the morning, and I had like a few hours before it was announced.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, I want to tell everybody, but it's very closely embargoed. It's harder to hold a secret for just a few hours than for months or years, I think. So I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so that was really cool. Yeah, and then they announced it, and it was cool. It was pretty amazing. And it was a whole packet. There was like the reason it was so good to work with AP on this is because like I helped with 2 of the initial stories, but there was other stories that I didn't even work on because they were tying the surveillance tech to what was going on in, Nepal, and all these other countries.
Mhm.
And the AP has newsrooms all over the world, and they have this great visual team, and like I kind of feel like I took more of a, definitely than the Intercept where I was the lead writer and I had support. I was more of in a support role. But I think it worked really well, and I definitely couldn't have done it on my own because I don't read Chinese.
There's that.
I'm not in China to be able to do those interviews, so.
You mentioned, and Alyson, I know you and Yael had a prior convo to kind of get into maybe this section of what we'd want to cover or ask you today. But in terms of privacy, you mentioned the campaign and the feud with those nefarious data brokers. And you mentioned surveillance tech, so that's kind of the pivot, right? I'm taking there because, one part of my brain said, that'll never happen here. And then the other part of my brain says, no, there's a flock camera in front of a deli that I used to go to in my little sleepy town in upstate New York. So it's here, right? My father-in-law was right in terms of shutting off everything on his smartphone. But then he leaves at places. So it's not a phone at that point there, Jim, right? It's just, it's just that thing you leave behind with your keys. But walk us through what inspired you to take up the baton and the fight, right, against data brokers. How bleak is it? The privacy landscape in the U.S. What are we looking at?
It's pretty bad. I think it's pretty bad because there's government officials who are paying for data broker information that they can't legally get otherwise. But I started doing it because I had friends that were getting doxxed by Nazis. Most of them were journalists. And I was like, and I was having people who were just being like, oh, do you live at this address? Like just random. I'm like, this is really scary that people I don't even know have my home address that's posted on these sites that I don't even know about, let alone consented to. Like, what the hell? And I thought the process of removing it was really hard, and I wanted to make it easier for people. And so I'm like, maybe if I compile as many of these in one place and like tell people how to do it and keep it updated, at least it'll be easier and quicker. Because in certain situations, I found that I'm worried about a specific security thing. I follow a bunch of advice that I see online in a panic, and it's been 2 days and I still haven't actually addressed the issue I was trying to address. But it's definitely not, I feel like it's more of a Band-Aid solution. Like the joke is that it's security by obscurity because people can still get your address. Like people can look up if you own property, people can figure out where you live pretty quickly. And if you are in a voter roll in most states, people can figure out where you live or they can follow you home. This is more like if your adversary is dumb, like if they don't know, and there's a lot of those out there. Like, I used to be an MMA, right? It's like random trolls in the comments page who like are not educated or investigative. They just are like, they know what, Spokio is or people finders and just plug in your name. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me that people still use it and then it's kind of blown up. But yeah, there's also like paid services. And then I had personally had some bad experiences with them where I paid them to remove my information from places and it was still on those places. And I'm like, you literally sent me a PDF saying it was removed and yet it's still up there. So then we did, that's why I worked with Tall Poppy back when I was still at Consumer Reports and we did an evaluation. but it was based on volunteers, and it was pretty small. Like, I don't know. I trust the results, and it guides what I used for my paid people search sites, but it could have changed. Like, the landscape is very fluid, and ideally you would redo this at a larger scale every year or something like that. But yeah, that was kind of what led me to that. And then I found all these like very weird, nefarious connections between people search removal sites and the data brokers themselves. Like, in some cases, they were advertising on these data broker sites, which is kind of a perverse incentive, where they're like, there was a lot of weird, it's kind of a gross space. But I think I've written about VPN. I've written about a lot of gross space.
I mean, you know, Alyson, from your perspective in terms of, this is something I know we on different other pods, it's some of it's illegal, a lot of it's semi-legal or not illegal. So is it like which one? I'd be interested to see kind of which one comes first, right? Is it going to be an upswell of folks just saying enough, and then we're going to find ways to kind of counteract this surveillance tech, even domestically? Or is it, who has to lead the way in this type of environment?
It's a great question. So, and I don't know that I have an answer on that, to be honest. It's information, as Yael said, that is publicly available. Some of it was received from ill-gotten means, but it could be from actors or bad actors that are not here. So good luck chasing somebody where there's not jurisdiction in a court. So you can make all the laws and rules that you want, but if they're not required to play by them and there's no way to identify them, bring them in, and then hold them accountable, I mean, what do you do with that? And so a lot of it is just for us as individuals, I think, to be as aware of what the situation is and take the steps that we can take as much as we can to keep our data as private as possible. And a lot of that is understanding which of these sites have your information and fully understanding that sometimes it's on the black market and you're never going to get to that information. And so, that came up in our conversation with Kat, right? She made it very clear that, you can literally buy a list of people that have been victims of sexual assault, and that's on the black market, but they got that from breaching into a health facility or a mental, health clinic or something along those lines. And so they use that information to then target you based on that specific data set that they got. So how do you enforce against the boogeyman? At the end of the day, it's definitely not Scooby-Doo where you can pull off the mask and go, we figured it out. And so that becomes a big problem is it's definitely a drinking out of a fire hose type of situation and trying to figure out who's going to be the one to turn it off. A lot of it is we just as a society need to be smarter about who we're voluntarily giving access to our information and our privacy, what we can do to go in and, as Yael pointed out, take all of the steps that are not easy and not intuitive necessarily to try to opt out of the programs that have opted us into these public websites that are selling your info. But you're never going to catch all the bad actors who are doing with your information, but you can at least minimize it from the trolls, right? Like to Yael's point, right? The ones that go to Spokio and been verified. And there's a whole list of those who pay a significant amount of money to be at the top of the Google search engine results, right? If you type in your name, some of the stuff, depending on who you are, right, and what your reach is out there, those are the first websites that come up. And it's interesting that there has been a shift. I remember years ago where you could type in a phone number and it would tell you, oh, it was this business. It was like the reverse white pages. Now it's the opposite. You really can't get anything out of searching phone numbers. If you actually try to look up the spam numbers that have called you, you're not going to get much on the results. It's been an interesting shift. But if you put in somebody's name, you're going to see all the people they're related to, potentially, right? All the houses you've lived in, potentially houses they've lived in. I mean, the depth and the breadth is a bit overwhelming for somebody who doesn't quite understand and appreciate what it is. And to Yael's point, some of it's just public info. If you know where to look, it's easy to find. I mean, I know that I've resorted to that kind of research in when I've had to locate somebody for service of process. I'm really good at finding you on the internet by legal means, not illegal means, right? I can go through and say, oh yeah, let's search this, let's search this. I know exactly where to look for that information. So I don't know what the answer is as to how do you stop it if there's nothing that they're doing illegally, other than I think we need to be much more cognizant about the value of our information and that data. And if we decide as society that we are not going to just hit yes on all the terms and conditions that voluntarily give out our information and then petition with whether it's local government or federal government to say, no, we have to stop commoditizing people and their data in that way. I mean, especially if we're not getting paid for it, but they're making money off of it. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
if I want to voluntarily give you it and you give me some money for that exposure, okay, that's a choice. But right now, none of us have made that choice necessarily. It's just we're the product all the way around. So I don't know how you effectively stop that, especially with all of those things in consideration.
I hate that it's all considered public record because I'm like, in most states, you can get your information to not be public record if you're the victim of a crime or if you have a stalker or if you have certain professions. And I'm like, why do we have to wait until we're victimized before we can remove this?
To not be victimized again? Yeah. I mean, that's the reality is, right? You're already victimized. I mean, I can tell you, he won't listen to the podcast. So short story long, we had a contractor do some work at the house and I had the guy's name and it was somebody I didn't know. He was brought in by another contractor. And of course I did some Googling, right? And went through and I found all of the criminal history news articles from 20 plus years ago detailing this particular background and all of the things that had happened allegedly. And the entire criminal history and everything else. And the gentleman had voluntarily shared with me after I had already done that. And I'm like, yeah, I already know. I already know your history. Don't worry about it. You just keep doing the work. You're good. I know you need a second chance, right? Like, I'm not going to judge you for it. But because people make choices in their lives and you never know what their circumstances are. And so we actually developed a mutual respect out of, look, I already know all that and you're still here doing the work. So we're cool. That kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but dude, all your info is out there. And it was just very easy for me to find in 2 different counties everything I needed to know about the background, the alleged crimes, Facebook pages, all of the info, photos of kids from families and divorce records. And it doesn't take a lot to find all that info. And
I
so
do that too. I always feel bad. I'm like, I didn't mean to try this. I'm just good at it, Like I was looking at, I think I had a weird interaction with someone once, and I was trying to figure out like, is this somebody I should apologize to, or are they a person? So I was Googling them, and I felt way more than and I'm like, I think I can stop looking now. I think they're good. Like I think it was like and then when you are around them, you know all this stuff about them, but I don't want to let on that I know all these things because I don't want them to think I'm a stalker or something. Yeah, I hate it when that happens. Like, I don't really know the answer to that if you're good at researching.
well, right. So let's go to OSINT, right? I mean, that's what they do for a living, but it's a skill. But I mean, there's literally one of my girlfriends was telling me about a Facebook group that I am not in. And it is a bunch of women that will say I don't want to say stalk. That's probably not, but do their investigation. We'll say whatever that investigation is on the backgrounds of boyfriends and husbands and whatever, and then expose them for cheating and all of these other things within the group or when people are out dating because you don't know who you're meeting online, right? So there's the other side of this is people claiming to be a certain person or background and they're really not. And so you are using that investigation. So it's an interesting balance between I need to know that I'm not being conned and then now I'm going to be conned because somebody else has my info. It's a really weird, but this group literally like cyber investigates everybody and anybody and then outs them to everybody. And I'm like, ooh.
I've had friends that have benefited. No, go ahead, please.
No, I think about this a lot because I teach people investigative skills, which they could use for really shady purposes. But I don't know. It's like, how do you it's like I want all this information, but I don't want you to have it about me. Like, I don't know. It's everybody thinks that, so it's kind of. I haven't quite reconciled. I need to go to a philosophy seminar or something to figure out. Like, I haven't quite figured out how to justify privacy for me, but not for thee. No, yeah. But I am not doing anything malicious with it. Like, a friend and I were talking about this, and he's like, you just want to peer in people's soul, but you're not going to, like, dox them or stalk them or swat them or whatever. Like,
Exactly.
So he thinks it's different, but it's still I have this weird disconnect when I'm like, I respect people's privacy, and yet, like,
No, and
here I
I
am
put myself,
obsessively yeah.
no, and, I've had friends, to Allison's point there, with some of those groups, and I think they're big on Facebook to my knowledge, and it's big on like regional too. So it's of this region, and then and there's also like broader ones, and I'm not against it because, now especially, and this is, a lot of people get on folks for saying this, but I just, as the father of a new daughter, right? Like down the road, would I want her to be able to avail herself of any and all info in order to make good choices about the people she's hanging out with? Absolutely. Yes. I'll pay for that down the road. Now we're, 20 years down the road, we're going to have to pay for it somehow. It, of course. Right. So, but I get the conundrum because, I don't want to violate privacy, but then at the same time, I wouldn't want loved ones or people close to me or just anyone really walking into a situation that, they're either going to be in danger physically or they're going to be in danger
Right.
emotionally, or their lives are going to take that hard left turn because somebody was trying to be something they're not on the internet. And then here you go, you brought a scumbag into your life, and then suddenly, you can't get rid of them, right? Because they seem to have that persistence to them once they're in there. But I don't know. It's a slippery slope, to both of yours point there.
Yeah. Luckily, there are other signs. Like, I feel like I'm pretty public online. There's a lot of information about me out there. There's a lot of social media, but there's certain things that I just don't talk about online, and you're not going to find it. There's other people who barely have an online presence who are sketchy, but there's other ways of finding that out, like beyond like Google stalking or whatever. There's other red flags or stories that don't add up. Or I just hope
Mhm.
that people remember those skills, because I feel like we're so reliant on the internet and AI that there's things that you have to also use your brain.
Yeah. Or even just the gut
Yeah.
feeling sometimes. If you walk in and,
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of, again, I'm not anti-essential oils. I'd like to state that for the third time on this podcast. And I'm pro vibes. So like if, if we're hanging out and it's just something, I don't know why, like there's been no objective evidence, but you know, I'll be self-reflective. I'm like, is it a bias? Is it a prejudice? Omar, are you being, obtuse? What's going on? And if it's still not that, then, XYZ person has that crazy on him. And then, maybe I'm vindicated, maybe I'm not, but you have to listen to that too. You never know, and,
Yeah.
and yeah, right. Like, and it's just, like you said, those skills, the AI and the internet and all that can help, but it's not, yeah, it's still there. Right. If you just get a feeling sometimes, you're just like, nah, I don't know why, but nah, and going from there.
Yeah. I trust those for
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's something trying to tell you something, and whether it's evolutionary traits where you're just picking up on something, or epigenetically, I don't know what it is, where it's just like, no, no. And, and then you hear later, they robbed a bank or something. I knew it. I knew it. They had that look
I knew
about
there
it.
was something off.
Yes, like they got they got really weird when we passed the post office or something, and it's just like, they just went on a rampage. But, as we, being mindful of your time, right? Because again, award-winning journalist, right? You got lots of things going on.
This is how I like to spend my time. So
This is it's been an absolute pleasure. It was as advertised, and, hopefully we can do it again. But anything in the pipeline, anything coming, anything you're working on, and, any speaking engagements, appearances, again, right? Wanting to support you in any way we can here.
thank you. I am speaking at Secret Con in Minneapolis. I don't
Okay.
remember if it's June 4th or 5th, the day that I'm speaking, but that's my next speaking gig. And yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for jobs. I'm looking for work, doing a little bit of kind of random contracting, freelancing. So I should have things coming out. I just don't know what they are yet.
Gotcha. All right. Friend of the podcast, anything you have, let us know. We'll amplify, right? If there's anything in between now and when we publish, let us know. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll make sure that's amplified. I'm going to say this. I said it on the LinkedIn post that I shared. You're not going to be on the bench for long, right? If
Thank you.
that's one of those feelings that I trust that we just talked about. I have a hunch
Thank
even
you.
in this bonkers market, I think you're just phenomenal at a couple of different areas, which is rare. So yeah, I think that won't be for
Thank
long.
you.
Yael,
I can
thank you.
throw some links at you. We have a Mythos article. I can give you stuff to fill
Absolutely.
for sure. But I love
And
what you
it'll be
all are
something good
doing
to.
because I feel like you're filling a really important gap for people that are like absolutely qualified to get work and just can't. Like, I just know so many talented people who have the skill. Like, I just love what you're doing. I think it's really great. So happy to
Thank you. That was
support
all
all of it.
Alyson's brainchild there. I'm just along for the ride. I get to, again, I get to be in rooms with cool people. I'm good with that. That's here included. I just
Don't listen to the man who's putting together our training stuff for our teams, but
I was
just in the
going to do
room.
that under an alias.
He acts like he's a wallflower.
So modest. So modest.
You've blown my spot. I was gonna credit someone else there. To have a nom de plume. But it's it's a cool environment, right? It's a cool, like you said, right? The hacker environment, journalists. I feel like just getting into rooms with cool people and having awesome chats is, like you said, Yael, it's a great way to spend time.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't suck. It's nice, right? When you're talking to people that have, cool things to say.
And you don't wake up injured, to bring this full circle.
That's very true. Because usually this is like the type of combo you'd have on the side of the mat, but then you've paid for it in like a year off your life in like for 4 hard rolls, right? You're like, yeah, my knee's making like a third sound that I've never heard it make, but we're having this really cool discussion about essential oil, and I'm here for it. And let's really dig down.
I do like essential. I like lavender. I like vetiver. I do like essential oils, just not for staff. So just as an
not
FYI,
for like
before big
stringent
oils.
medical things that you could end up losing limbs over. Like we've kind of figured that out. Let's just use what's there. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Please, please. It's funny. Like we're laughing because this is something sometimes you have to say to certain people in those spheres that we're talking about. Where,
don't ask on Reddit. Like go to.
Don't take a picture and go, is this ringworm? And like, it's just like an undead body part at that point, right? It's just like some zombie's
don't
arm.
ask your random friends. Ask somebody who has like MD after their name,
Please, right? Like and don't tape over it and then try to get sweaty with me either. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't just, it's fine. It's fine. Let me see what's under there, brother.
Alyson's going to call it.
Yeah. It's, these are all, we're not making things up. We're remembering actual events.
Believe you. I'm like, I'm never hitting the mat. We're good, man.
This is good advice. This is good. Since cybersecurity is basically threat analysis, we're sharing tips.
Please. All right. Yeah. If somebody has just poor hygiene in general, and then they have a lot of tape over certain areas,
don't touch.
You also want the mats to kind of smell like bleach at the end.
Yes.
Like I love the smell of sweat and bleach, and then you want to shower after you roll and wash your gi. It's gross otherwise.
Like
hygiene,
literal hygiene tips. That's literally but it needs to be said. But thank you again, Yael, for joining us. Please, let us know things that are coming up. We'll amplify. And to all the listeners, please, as always, keep it cyber metal. Till next time, take care.